Hi, I'm Phil Nyden. I'm Director of the Center for Urban Research and Learning, known as Ecole, at Loyola University of Chicago, and also a sociologist, professor of sociology at the university.
Okay. So we've met before in Chicago at Loyola with regards to Curl, but what is Curl and what is Prague, and what is the work that you do?
Curl is basically it's a university entity, a network. We focus on collaborative university community research, where basically the research is collaborative all the way from the conceptualization all the way through the actual publication reports. In fact, conceptualization is the most important part, to be collaborative, because we aren't taking our ideas from the university and saying to the community, here's what you should do. And conversely, we're not community driven, but it's a combination of the two. And we usually, I think over the past 2-3 years, we've had over 100 community partners. We work on about 15 community projects, but there's enough trust.
Wow.
To really think about we can do things and be critical of each other.
So what kind of projects are you involved in?
Right now, if I can remember all of them, at least some of them, we have some ongoing projects looking at what produce racially, ethnically, economically, stably diverse communities. And we're right now exploring on an expansion of some projects, some locally based, but there are also national and international connections here. But looking at comparing stably diverse communities, one in the city, one is a former housing development project that was all poor before and primarily black, and then another suburban project. So that's one. We've done some other work on how to enhance the educational backgrounds of preschool teachers. We're working with about 9 organizations that provide private education for about 80% of low-income children in Chicago, and working with them on how we can keep these people trained and keep them there in the community. Done other work on affordable housing. We have another project developing on trying to figure out why low-income African-American women and low-income Latinas living in gentrifying communities have higher late-stage cancer diagnosis rates than poor women living in poor communities or poor women living in middle-class communities. So those are some of the examples of the kinds of projects.
Now you're based in Chicago, and most of your work happens in Chicago.
Right.
So I live in Ottawa, and we're sitting here in Paris.
Right.
I mean, why is the work that happens in Chicago, how is it applicable to other places? I mean, why would you want to come to Paris and tell other people about what it is that you're doing?
Well, of course, it's Paris, but it's one of the things that it's sort of counterintuitive. While we do very grassroots-based research at the neighborhood level, we get a real image, it's a local hook to hang things on. But the more we've done this work, and quite honestly, partially because of our web presence, we've gotten contacted and have contacted people in other cities, other communities in Chicago, other cities in the US, and other cities worldwide. And what we find is there's lots of common ground, and also what we do, there's limited resources. Our center has a fair endowment and other kinds of resources, but there's still a limited amount of resources available to community-based efforts. So as much as you can compare notes, compare strategies, share research outcomes in multiple places like this, the more we can help folks in Sydney, Australia do work on affordable housing issues. They can help us do work in terms of strategies on how to stop displacement. So really that kind of comparison is really critical, and I think we now have the technology. We have the internet, we have things like YouTube, things like, there's all sorts of things available, faxes, telephone calls, which are a lot cheaper to make telephone calls these days. So you can do international networking in ways you never could do before. So what we like to say in the US that we now work outside we don't have to go to some organization inside the Beltway.
Okay. So you mentioned some of the technological pieces in that facilitate the communication, but maybe you can talk about specifically how you interact with, say, a science shop here in Europe or other community-based research activities somewhere else in the world. How would that kind of partnership look like? Because I know that you have these amazing partnerships all around the world. How do they start, and how do you sustain them over time?
Sure. Well, one example of partnership, we had one that actually was partially funded by the EU and the US government. Not big money, but it was there. It was with Liverpool, a group in Liverpool, a group in Seville, and a group in Washington, D.C., and us in Chicago. And this is focusing on sustainable development. And we were sort of developing a curriculum, but a curriculum that could be used both in the university and in local communities. And so we did literally a lot of traveling, but then we established blogs so that people could talk to each other. But the idea was, for example, with Liverpool, they were selected as Capital Culture Europe, I think 2008. And that sounded good, but that had a negative impact on their low-income communities because there was a lot of speculation and costs went up. And there was a parallel with some things going on in Chicago. So looking at those issues was just educational. Another thing that didn't quite take off, but a little bit took off, was having Spanish-speaking residents in Chicago talking to people in Seville, Spain, about their issues and how you address displacement there as well. And it basically empowered Spanish-speaking people in Chicago to be able to have this international conversation and elevated their stock in their local community.
Right, absolutely. So what are if someone was to want to do this kind of work and we're just starting from the ground up, what are the key elements of success, or have been the key elements of success in your case?
Part of it is just getting the right people around you. The collaboration is nice because you get a lot more done working with lots of other people than if you try doing it on your own. And sharing credit always is another thing that just increases your credibility and trust. And focusing probably on the issues and the project. So we focus on community-based issues, and that really makes the difference.
Right. How do you decide priorities? You know, there's so many issues within a community that, you know, how do you choose one issue over another?
It's a whole variety of things. Partially it's the capacity, our interest and our ability to match our resources, capacity, local community. Often now we've been around for not only Ecole, but before that there was the Policy Research Action Group, which is a consortium of multiple organizations and universities in Chicago. But ideas would come out of that and stimulate other ideas. So sometimes that is where ideas would be it's like the granddaughter of the idea 5 years ago.
Okay. If people want, you're also involved in the creation of a new journal. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. In cooperation with a sister center in Sydney, Australia, University of Technology, Sydney Shopfront, we're publishing Gateways. It's an e-journal. It's free to everyone. It should be out late 2007. And it will be partially peer-reviewed. Part of the article will be peer-reviewed, but peers expanded not only academic experts, but community experts, and there'll be other section. And if they go to our website, which is www.luc.edu/curl, C-U-R-L, you'll see links to our journal and actually links to all our projects and what we do.
Okay. Well, if people want to get in touch with you, is that the best way to reach them? And do you have other contact information?
That's probably the best way. Also, they can contact me directly by email. It's pnyden, P-N-Y-D-E-N, @luc.edu, or give me a call. You can find the phone number on the website.
Great. And just as a closing thought in terms of the conference here, what has been the best part about being in Paris?
Again, Paris is always one of the best parts about Paris, but it's fascinating looking at people around the world who are doing just amazing things, whether it's Africa, Asia, Europe, South America, and it sort of recharges your batteries and you realize it's not just you out there, there's lots of other people.
That's great. As always, Phil, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you, and good luck with all the work.
Thanks,
Thank
Peter.
you.